everyone. Today, I want to talk with you about child advocacy. What is child advocacy in the divorce and family law realm? What should you be thinking about to help protect your kid? And what are some of the options out there? This could be a 100-hour podcast. So I'm just going to give you a quick introduction in terms of what to think about in this area, and just to give you some initial kind of things to start processing as you are thinking about how to do better in family law as an attorney or a judge, or how to do better for your own children or your grandchildren. Or if you're thinking about divorce, what to start thinking about. And maybe even if you've done it wrong and your case didn't go well and your kids are suffering, what you could be thinking about to do better. Again, as always, I want to point out that I'm only a licensed attorney in Colorado and Wyoming. And so in every state, even those two states have very different laws. So it's very important, if you're taking in this podcast, that you also look at what's going on in your state. I'm not an authority on every state, and there's a lot of language and terminology and acronym that each state uses that can be different. And so you want to make sure that you're looking at primers on your own state. If you Google family law in your state, you will find, I'm sure, a bunch of different websites that talk about what the law is in that area. And as always, consult with a lawyer in your state if you have any questions. Um, so this is mostly going to be about what Colorado offers, but again, it will generally, I think, be transferable as you think about other types of child advocates or child advocates generally in the states where you live. And if you don't have these types of child advocacy in the states where you live, then maybe that's an opportunity for you to talk to your legislature or talk to family law attorneys, the family law bar. Usually there's a family law section of the local bar association, and family law attorneys need to be encouraged to try in the bench there, and meaning the judges there. There usually are domestic relations entities, so family law sections of or Supreme Court, for example, work committees, things like that. When a dependency neglect case starts, that's the state or child protective services. So when you call the hotlines in states and you call you report child abuse, or you call the police, or you report neglect, or you saw a kid in a car left alone and they say, you need to call Child Protective Services or the Department of Human Services. You are calling the state, okay? And the state has an interest, and you're going to find there's lots of fancy Latin terms in the law, um, and you don't need to know them all. But basically, the idea is that the state is kind of coming in as the parent, because the parent, we think, is failing to protect or care for a child. Okay, so you've got kids living in bad situations that are dirty or unsafe, or not being fed, or being actually abused. These are dependency and neglect cases. Those kids all get a guardian ad litem or an attorney, and I think that's true in every state. It's certainly true in Colorado, but I think it's true in every state that guardians ad litem are assigned, or somebody like a guardian ad litem is assigned to represent the best interest or to represent the child. Now, in Colorado, we have some legislation that has changed the dynamics of this a little bit. If kid is under 12 years old, that child has a guardian ad litem, and I believe it's 12 and over has counsel for youth. And so you'll find this across all of our different child court landscapes, that there is a increasing tendency to talk about children's voices and how to get the children's own voice into these systems and into these discussions. That's happening on the divorce side in the domestic relations cases, and it's happening in the dependency and neglect system. So in Colorado, counsel for youth are really charged to do more to represent the child than to represent this sort of neutrally best interest standard, which is a more common standard across most of our systems in the United States, which is, we're going to look at a whole set of factors as to what is best for the child, and only one of them is what the child wants, one of those factors. And even then, not every court, not every lawyer, not every judge emphasizes that one factor of the child's wishes. And it comes with a lot of caveats, like if the child is mature enough to have independent, well-reasoned opinion about his or her own or their own wishes. Okay, so there's just a lot of you can see that with that language, it's pretty easy to not listen to the kids' wishes. Okay, but there's also the attitude of some that kids, they don't have their minds fully developed yet. They don't know necessarily what is best for them, and there's a lot of things that the adults around them should be considering. That the co-parent is actually really better for the flourishing of the children. Are there ways to make that happen? Sometimes relocations need to happen. If we have to relocate, how do we do that well? Um, Other things that you should think about just are that, the extended families and the ability for the extended families to stay involved is also a very essential piece of effective co-parenting. How do you bring in new significant others? Very important dynamics in the co-parenting. How do we synergize the use of technology, the use of different rules and different discipline? Kids are sometimes I feel like jet lagged, like they're going from country to country when they go home to home. And the very one of my guests upcoming very soon is Dr. Kathleen McNamara, and she is talking about all kinds of things about doing this better. I'm sure she'll be a reoccurring guest. And one of the things she talks about is that the number one predictor of the outcome of how your children do post-divorce is the co-parenting. The co-parenting now and the co-parenting long term. So it's not the divorce itself that the research shows is causing the impact. It's the failure to co-parent well. It's the ongoing war that you allow yourself to create or you allow your attorneys to create for you, and stepping back and stopping the insanity of that in most cases is the most and best thing that you can do for your children.